Are you ready for the NFL draft? We are, and we can't wait to talk about it.
Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, the NFL draft is here tomorrow. Also, if it looks like we're wearing the same shirts as we did yesterday, it is because that's exactly what we're doing, because we're doing podcasts back to back, and because I'm driving to New Orleans tomorrow. But anyway, NFL draft, Thursday night. I personally cannot wait. I'm a little upset. I've got my daughter, 6-year-old, has a soccer game that'll be going on about the time as the first pick, and I'm the coach, and so I got to be there. The draft, that means I got to miss her soccer game. No, I'm just kidding. I got to miss the draft, so I'm going to have to record it. I won't have the live visceral reaction that everybody else has to Bryce Young going number one, which I think is 100% now, and I can't wait for it. By the way, did you see Bryce Young nailed? I don't know if it's called the Wonderlic anymore, whatever the test is called anymore.
The S2.
Okay, the S2. Bryce Young destroyed it. Just killed it. Did awesome. And C.J. Stroud, not so much. So
yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, some people are disputing whether that report was accurate. So
okay.
I don't know whether it's accurate or not. CJ, by the way, I have no idea. I'm not around him all the time. CJ never struck me as I'm not sure that kid's really. CJ seems like a pretty bright kid to me. So
me too.
I don't know. I can't really explain that. He's certainly a good quarterback, and I would hate to be the Texans at 2. I'm not sure what I would do about CJ Stroud at 2, but I guess that's why we get to do this draft show. We got to make up our minds.
Yeah, I like C.J. Stroud. I do. I really do like him as a player. I think it's fascinating. C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, and DJ Uiagalelei, all from California, all in the same recruiting class. And Uiagalelei, who was the number one by most services, ends up being the least of the bunch. But, how fascinating is that you have two guys? They may go 1 and 2 in this draft from California in the same recruiting class.
They were friends, and Bryce and CJ became friends in middle school.
That's bananas, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. They could go 1 and 2 and might. I'm starting to believe that the Texans will take a defensive player at number 2. I'm starting to believe that.
And by the way, there is talk that they may pass on Will Anderson and go to the Texas Tech defensive end. Do that at your own peril. It's your funeral, Texans, whatever you want to do.
Well, we're biased.
Yeah, we are.
Of course. I will say that I'm fascinated by Tyree Wilson. He has the craziest wingspan of any pass rusher I've ever seen. He looks like $1 million. No, he actually looks like $100 million. I get it on the hoof and his athleticism. Tyree Wilson is just a freak. But I would just argue I would take Will, because Will is more proven to me. He's put up better numbers against better competition, and I think Will is the safer pick. And as we sit here today, for purposes of the show, I used to not say this but I really expect what I'm expecting to happen is Bryce will go number 1 to the Panthers, and I'll probably cry or something. That'll be such a big thing for Bryce, for Alabama to finally produce the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Bryce to Carolina, and then at 2. This is what I think is going to happen. I think someone's going to trade up to 2 and take that take a quarterback, probably Stroud. Someone's going to trade up and be in love with Stroud if the Texans aren't. And the Texans will smartly pick up some draft capital for fall and back. And then the Cardinals would take Will at 3, unless they find a trading partner that wants to take Levis or Richardson at 3. And I think we could have that happen, Luke, where after Bryce goes at 1, the rest of the quarterbacks go 2, 3, 4, because people are trading up to get them, while those bad teams are smartly accumulating capital, accumulating picks. But I do suspect, Luke, that Will Anderson will be the first player taken in this draft that isn't a quarterback, and that could happen as high as 2 to the Texans. I think it could be as low. I don't think he would get past the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks would just draft Will if he fell that far down to 5. But that's kind of how I see those first picks going. I guess if we want to be all super official, then I'll say, okay, Bryce 1 to the Panthers and Will 2 to the Texans, which would be fun because he'll be playing for D'Amico there.
Yeah, I do. I think playing for D'Amico would be cool. I think going 1 and 2, I don't know that it's ever happened. Have we talked about this?
I saw this on Good Morning Football. It would be the 4th time it's ever happened.
What?
It'd be the 4th time it's happened. Yes, in the common draft era. The last time it happened, though, was 23 years ago. And you'll probably remember it now. Courtney Brown and LeVar Arrington.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that.
1 and
Okay.
2. That was in 2000 that happened. You know who went after those two? You know what third in that same draft? Big Sam.
All right. Where Chris Samuels?
Big Sam. Yeah, he went right after those.
Oh,
two.
wait a minute. Did you already say the answer? And I said it.
You know who went right after Big Sam? You said it simultaneously.
Okay.
Yeah, Big Sam. So, yeah, it hasn't happened in 23 years. And it had happened prior to that. But you know, in the distant past. So, yeah, it would be historic. And I would be very excited. I just wonder if someone who really likes Stroud is going to make a deal and move up to 2 and take Stroud and ruin that with a trade. I think if the Texans stick and pick, Will.
You know what I just realized? I'm trying to get just a couple of things. I think that I didn't post yesterday's podcast like a moron.
Oh, well, post away after this show's over. Post away.
God, I'm so stupid sometimes with this stuff. Y'all don't understand how dumb I am with this stuff.
We've given the people a lot of content over the years, so let's continue to just rain content by posting multiple podcasts at once. They'll love it.
Now it's not even showing up at all. I don't know what the heck I've done here. Good.
Wow.
Good.
We probably lost it. And it was the one show.
All right. Nobody wants to hear about this. So let me tell everybody about FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. You will love them. It's time for baseball. It's time for NBA basketball. FanDuel's official partner with both of these. So go check out FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon. You'll get that no sweat first bet up to $1,000 at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Look, you can bet on number of home runs in the game. You can bet on just the game itself. You can bet on number of pitches. You can bet on whatever you want to at FanDuel. It's unbelievable the options you have. And if you like to gamble, and I bet you do, that's how much I like to gamble, then you will love FanDuel.com/lockedon. Go there ASAP, get that no sweat first bet. FanDuel is an official partner of Major League Baseball and the NBA. So Jimmy, let's talk about Will Anderson here for a second. I mean, I think Will Anderson ends up at Houston at this point right now. If I'm Houston, I'm trying desperately to trade because I think you can get the world and you can move back just a little. And I think if somebody does get ahead of you, somebody does take your spot, I think they'll take Stroud or Levis. And then I think somebody else will probably panic and try and take Arizona's spot and take Levis or Stroud or Richardson or whatever. And there'll be a run on quarterbacks and somebody like Will Anderson may fall to you. Regardless, as it stands right this minute, if Houston stays put, I think that they do take Will Anderson, and I would love that combo.
I think it's very I'll tell you a team that could easily trade up to 2 that makes a lot of sense to me in terms of they need a quarterback and they probably like Stroud as the Colts. The Colts are right there at 4. They wouldn't have to give up a ton to move from 4 to 2, and the Texans would still get probably Will or Tyree Wilson as a consolation prize, who's hardly that, or Jalen Carter, who's still out there, maybe the best player in the draft, though he's a bit of a gamble due to his off the field behaviors. But I think that's very possible too. So my official prediction, like I said, is Bryce 1 and Will 2 to the Texans. But I think it's almost easy to foresee someone like the Colts or the Raiders moving up to 2 and taking Stroud. And then that would upset the apple cart. I think the Cardinals would love to get Will Anderson at 3. The only thing they would love more than that is to trade back and accumulate picks. One thing about the Cardinals, though, Luke, right now, I know it's not an NFL show, but the Cardinals are just sort of messy right now to me. I mean, I know they have a new coach and that might help, but things with Kyler Murray just look messy. And they did this interesting around the league anonymously, like who's the worst run franchise? Who do you not want to play for? Who's sort of like, ooh, I don't know about being there. And the Cardinals won that poll, if you want to call that won the poll. Apparently it's a very unpopular franchise with the players right now in terms of, I think, of facilities, amenities, playing games there. It just feels a little messy. So I'll be happy for Will to go 3. And I like Arizona, and I think the Cardinals have cool uniforms. I could see myself rooting for Will in Arizona, but it feels a little messy. I would prefer to see Will in Houston with the Texans.
I would too, just because of D'Amico, John Mechie. Is there another Bammer in Houston I'm missing?
Christian Harris.
There we go.
Started some games for them, by the way. He was a at least a part-time starter as a rookie.
Yeah, O.J. Howard was actually with the Texans too for a brief minute, right?
Yeah, that's correct. He's not. I don't believe he's there longer. But the way I am is, I've been wanting to. There's a lot of free agency. A lot like Julio's not even with the team right now. Nor has he announced a retirement. He hasn't announced a retirement yet. Doesn't have a team yet. Sort of hoping he signs with the Falcons myself and plays as long as the Falcons will have him. If that's what. But that's what I want to see happen. But how about this that I put on Twitter yesterday? It's not 100% draft related, but somewhat. But right after the big Packers trade, and the Packers like go with Jordan Love. I pulled up the Packers roster, and their number 2 quarterback on their roster right now would be Danny Etling from LSU, and I don't think that's going to be something. So I'm like, boy, the Packers really need a number 2. What about our man AJ McCarron?
That is an interesting take. I'll tell you what, by the way, AJ threw for like 6 touchdowns and 300-something yards this past weekend for the St. Louis Battlehawks, who are going to be in the XFL playoffs. But AJ was talking about XFL versus NFL, and he said, I've had some offers for NFL, but I want to be in the XFL because season's shorter. I get to be around my family a little more. And AJ just may be that dude that wants to be around family more. I don't know, but if the Packers come calling and you're going to be a backup for $4 or $5 million a year, sign me up for that.
The money is just too.
All of a sudden, your family's like, we don't want you around.
Yeah, the family's like, Dad, we need more money.
You know what's better, Dad? You know what's better than your presence? Lots of Xboxes.
They could make do in Green Bay. It's kind of funny though, in terms of I've always compared. I mean this as a compliment, actually. I've always compared McCarron to Scott Hunter in a way. Maybe that's because they're both from Mobile, and Scott spent a lot of his career as the number 2 quarterback in Green Bay, and to me, that's one of the reasons that it leapt to mind for me about AJ as a number 2 in Green Bay. And I went so far as to look at, okay, what free agent quarterbacks are out there? Who's the best free agent quarterback out there that you would definitely take over AJ? And, the answer to that question, believe it or not, is Carson Wentz. And I'm like, I would just straight up choose AJ over Carson Wentz right now.
Yeah.
Would Carson Wentz be leading the St. Louis Battlehawks like AJ has? I would argue I'm not so sure.
No, I'm with you. I think that makes a ton of sense. Jimmy, we're going to make this a little bit of an abbreviated episode because of we're really just focusing on the draft. But I do want to tell everybody to go check out Locked On NFL Draft. We're going to have our mock draft. Jimmy Stein is on there talking about the Bama guys, and you need to go check it out. You'll love it. All right, Jimmy. So I forgot to do my hand thing. Anyway, we're back. And so now Jahmyr Gibbs, here's an interesting one, right? First of all, did you see all the rumors like late last week, Derrick Henry to the Eagles? And all I could think was, Derrick Henry to the Eagles. I mean, has there ever been a more powerful running tandem than Jalen Hurts and Derrick Henry if they're in the same backfield? By the way, I would be 100%, I'll be all in on the Eagles. I'd be like, my son, as you probably know, and a lot of people who listen to this podcast know, is like captain of the Eagles fan brigade for no reason. But he has Asperger's. I've talked about it before. And then in 2016, he just adopted the Eagles as his team for no reason. I mean, he was in Ohio. He doesn't like Ohio State. He's not in Alabama anymore. He likes Alabama, but he's not necessarily like me, an Alabama fan. And so he's more of an NFL guy, and he started loving the NFL, and he just fell in love with the Eagles. And then they go on to win the Super Bowl, and he's loved them ever since. And like, I took him to a Falcons game, and he was doing all the Fly Eagles Fly songs and cheers, and things I didn't know they had. Well, I've always been like, okay, I'll pull for the Eagles, especially now with Jalen and Devontae and whatever. If they get Derrick Henry too, fly me to Philly and let me watch games on Sunday. That's what I will be doing. So anyway, I've seen Jahmyr Gibbs mocked there, by the way. I've also seen that some NFL GMs, and I don't agree with this, I'm going to take my homework glass off, have Jahmyr Gibbs ahead of Bijan Robinson.
I saw that yesterday, commented from a sourced person on NFL Network. That shocked me. I love Gibbs. I just love Gibbs as a roll back, as a committee back, as a third down back, as your kick returner, or even maybe a punt returner at that level. I love Gibbs, and I think Gibbs can be a real weapon for you. I'm just not sold at all. Wrong, Jimmy. Please be wrong. I'm not sold on Gibbs as NFL starting running back that gets 20 to 25 touches a game. I don't think he's that guy. I don't think so. I wouldn't take Gibbs in the first round. I'm just being honest. I mean, I'm giving an honest opinion. I wouldn't. I don't think that his value to the team equals first round. Now, I do believe as a second round pick and definitely as a third round pick, he's a home run because you're getting a weapon. You're getting a weapon on Friday. You're not just getting a starter, you're getting a weapon. So I like him in the second round, and I'm not sure I just wanted to play for one of my teams that I really enjoy and playing with other Alabama guys. So I don't really, and since I see him as a second round pick, Eagles sounds good to me, but I don't really have a strong opinion. He's compared to Kamara a lot, but the Saints already have Kamara. So, I sort of like that comparison, frankly, but I think Gibbs will go. My guess is I'm going to say mid second round. And the only one we've missed, I think Brian Branch will go late first. And you mentioned Philly. I'm going to go ahead and project that. I think he'll probably go a little earlier than this, but I love the fit of Branch going in the first round at that pick number 30 to the Eagles. The Eagles need defensive back help. He can play more than one spot. I can just easily see him in that uniform, fits in with the other Alabama guys. So I'm sort of rooting for it to happen. But my actual thing, if I had to gamble, would be that Branch would go a little bit earlier than pick 30. But I'll go ahead and say 30 to the Eagles for Branch and the Gibbs mid-second round.
I would love it. I'm all for it. I mean, I just love the idea of having more Bammers on the Eagles because the Eagles are going to be a good team for the foreseeable future. So the more the merrier. And if Derrick Henry can get on that squad too, I mean, I'm telling you, Philly will be Tuscaloosa North. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, we will all be Philly fans forever. And here's the thing. They're going to be one of those teams. The NFL schedule comes out, I think, May 11th. I'm so excited about that. Like, the NFL does it so right. And I think SEC Network is going to do this later on this year, right, where they're going to announce the schedules for 2024, right?
I think so.
I think they're going to do like a special, and I just think that's so smart. I wish we would do that every year. I wish we'd quit signing programs to these contracts in 2020.
I wish it was more of an unveiling all at once.
Yeah.
This is who you're playing next year or the year after. That would be very smart marketing, and people would watch the heck out of that thing. By the way, I should have mentioned this before in terms of projection. All of our Alabama guys have an Alabama guy to throw to, except Mac, and Damian Harris actually moved on to the Bills.
Yep.
So Mac needs an Alabama skill player, and Bryce will. So I'm going to hope that Gibbs is a second-round pick to the Panthers or to the Patriots to play with an Alabama quarterback.
Ooh, that'd be awesome. God, I hate that I have to cheer for the Panthers. I don't like the Panthers. They're forever associated with Cam Newton.
It's because of Cam.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of Alabama fans say the same thing, but you know
what?
I
hate their uniforms. Their uniforms suck.
Oh, really? I
don't like their uniforms.
I'm the type that's going to buy something. I'm not a wear a jersey to a game guy. If you ever see me, I'm always in an Alabama polo type. When I go to games or an Alabama button down, I'm not a jersey guy, but I like wearing jersey type things around the house, so it's crazy to spend a lot of money on that sort of thing. But I think I will definitely get a Bryce thing for the Panthers. My wife, she loves Bryce. I think Bryce might be her favorite player to ever. So she'll get it if I don't.
All right, buddy. Well, we can't wait for the draft. We're going to talk about it more after it happens. And until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.